Bezrat Hashem. Alright, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to go through the entire ALEF bet as we said. And so it begins like this, Bezrat Hashem. So when you unroll an authentic Torah scroll, one of the first things you notice is that the Torah is written in a very specific script. These are the letters in their true forms, the 22 most gorgeous minimalist pictures that depict everything. Excuse me. So Bezrat Hashem, there exists an entire system of how the little children used to learn the alphabet in the times of the sages, and that is preserved word for word in the Talmud, Bavli Masechet Shabbat, on page 104a. So this is this booklet. And this was shown to me by Hagaon Harav Zamir Cohen Shlita in his book, Hatzofen, on page 43. And so this whole booklet is basically the alphabet, the kids going through the alphabet, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll see that now. So usually when you're doing like important kind of like Torah things, you'll notice that there's always like technical difficulties that go up. So Bezrat Hashem, there won't be, because this is actually like extremely important. So let's try. So right now you're looking at the two letters Kaf and Bet. Kaf Bet is 22. These are the 22 keys to the Torah and to life itself, life in this world and life in the next world. This Avraham Avinu called the Aleph Bet Avanim, stones, that the letters are like the building blocks of the world, because Hashem speaks and creates by the speech, and speech is made of words, and words are made of the letters, and specifically the Aleph Bet, as we're going to see. The sages referred to the Aleph Bet as Tmunot, pictures, and they are called Otiyot, which is mistranslated as letters, but it really is more closer to Simanim, or symbols, pictures that depict everything in reality. And so this was, as we said, shown by Harav Zamir Cohen Shlita, and this is basically the whole booklet right here is from this one page of the Talmud. From this pink line that you see here, and then all the way down to the very bottom. I hope it could load, because this is the page that usually, it's not like rendered properly, so it takes a second or two. Right, until down here. So from here till here is basically this entire booklet, and this is the system of how the little children used to learn the alphabet in the times of the sages. And this is the same way that Rabbi Akiva began to learn at the age of 40 years old for the first time. And so, like we said, these are the keys to the Torah itself, and by the end of Rabbi Akiva's career, he was the master of the alphabet, to the point that the teachings on the alphabet, the midrash on the letters, is even called Otiyot de Rabbi Akiva, like the translated as letters or the symbols of Rabbi Akiva. But we know that these are Hashem's letters, but Rabbi Akiva was such a master, it's as if it's like his letters. So anyway, just to introduce the topic, there is no one better, of course, than Rabbi Akiva. So this is the opening of the second version, and it says, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, Elu. Elu are these. And when you're saying these, you're pointing at several things. So Rabbi Akiva is pointing at the alphabet, and the alphabet in their true forms, exactly as they appear on an authentic Torah scroll. If they're not in these true forms, we're forbidden from reading from it. And these are the letters that most kids never get to see, and Bezrat Hashem, they will be. Every kid will get to see the letters and to go through what they depict. And so Rabbi Akiva is saying, Elu, right here, these letters in their true forms, these pictures, symbols, are the Kaf Bet, 22 otiyot, the 22 symbols, Shebahen, that with them, Nitnat Torah Kula LeShiftei Yisrael, that with them was given the Torah entirely, in its entirety, to the 12 tribes of Am Yisrael. So the alphabet here, you're looking at them arranged as a number chart. So beginning over here at the letter Aleph Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, and it moves from right to left. So this, for English speakers and Russian speakers, this is like a complete mental shift. But we move from right to left. And the way to remember is that the Torah begins with the letter Bet. So this is the first letter of the entire Torah. And if you imagine this cursor here, like walking along, you reach this end, you can't go past. It's open to the future. The whole Torah is open to the future. That's why the sages ask, like why does the Torah begin with the letter Bet? It's because it's closed on all sides. You can't go that way, and it's completely open to the future. Everything moves from right to left. So anyway, this is arranged as a number chart. And so the letter Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3, Dalet is 4, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, and we'll see an interesting thing why Hey and 5 and how Hashem creates our hand with this letter. Okay, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, Zayin is 7, Chet is 8, Tet is 9. This is 9, and then begins the tens column over here. So Yud is 10, Kaf is 20, Lamed 30, Mem is 40, Nun is 50, Samech is 60, Ayin is 70, Pe is 80, Tzadi is 90, and then begins the hundreds column. So Kuf is 100, Resh is 200, Shin is 300, Tav is 400. And then if you're looking at these grayed out letters, these are not extra letters. It's just that one of the unique features of Lashon HaKodesh is that 5 of the letters move, meaning the letters can either be, as you can see with the letter Mem, the Mem could be open, that there's an opening here, or the Mem that could be closed. So like when your mouth is closed, when you're trying to say an M, you say So basically, your mouth is closed. The Nun could be bent, or the Nun could be straightened up. These letters, this is a unique feature based on where they are. Some of these letters move, and B'ezrat Hashem, as the kids will show us and explain to us what is actually going on here. So this is just Rabbi Akiva introducing that these are the letters in their true forms, exactly as they appear on an authentic Torah scroll. These are the letters that the prophets prophesy in and transmit and write the Torah in. These are the letters that the written Torah is written with. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're about to see all of that now. So, and it's only through these letters, the Rabbi Akiva is saying, these are the letters and none other. There are no other letters that the Torah can properly be transmitted in, or the Torah is only transmitted in the Aleph Bet in their true forms. And, this is a pasuk in Tehillim, Baruch Adonai Le'olam Amen Ve'Amen, that we are the children of Yisrael. What is so significant about the word Yisrael? That Rabbi Eliezer Schwartz Shlita, Rabbi Alan Schwartz Shlita, in the name of the Baal HaRokeach, says that Yisrael is actually the initials of all of our Avot and Imaot, all of the fathers and mothers. So the Yud is for Yitzchak and Yaakov, the Sin is for Sarah, Resh is for Rivka and Rachel, Aleph is for Abraham, and Lamed is for Leah. Yisrael is the entirety, it's all of the Avot and Imaot in one. And so this is in the booklet, so you could see the letters, up close. So it doesn't display as it would if you actually had it printed open. So that would be the right side. This is the left side. So you have it sort of like full screen there. And here is a page explaining the unique features of Lashon HaKodesh, how it's different from all the other languages, or just what is so unique about this language. But I'm thinking to just get into it right away, and B'ezrat Hashem, if we need to reference this, we'll come back. So just to get started right away, because introductions can sometimes take way too long, and this is just like one of the most amazing quotes is by the Rogatchover Gaon, is that when you pray, you are speaking to Hashem, but when you're learning Torah, Hashem is speaking to you. So this is such an important thing to realize. And so that whole lesson on the Aleph Bet begins like this. Amrei le, they said to him. So who are we speaking about? So they explain. Rabbanan le Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. The sages said to the sage Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, specifically to this great sage that we know so much about him, Baruch Hashem. But they specifically said to him the following. Athu dardeke ha'idna lebei midrasha. Dardak is a student. So dardeke, this little yud, makes it plural. So dardeke are, sorry, not student, but little kid. So this makes it plural. So dardeke are children. Athu means to arrive. So arrive the children. See, it's flipped here in English. You know, the verb and the noun, everything is flipped, but this is how it is in Lashon HaKodesh and in Aramaic. But so these little children arrived ha'idna just now lebei midrasha, just now to the Beit Midrash. Ve'amru mile, and they said, mile are like from the word milim. They said such words that de'afilu b'yemei Yehoshua bin Nun, that even since the times of Yehoshua ben Nun, Yehoshua son of Nun, or here literally like the letter Nun, as Bezrat Hashem will be explained. But Yehoshua, the successor to Moshe, Moshe's Meshamesh, Moshe's top like student, he stayed with him and he helped him. He was always at his side. Yehoshua, who then Moshe transferred everything into Yehoshua. Yehoshua became the next leader. So it says that these little children just arrived to the Beit Midrash, the house. Sorry, I didn't even explain that. Beit Midrash, there's a difference between Beit Midrash and a Beit Knesset. Beit Knesset, probably the way to remember, Knesset is kones. This is where you gather together, and you gather together to pray, or where you gather to pray, you kones, you are gathering all of the blessing that Hashem is giving you. You're activating it through the prayer. That you're an active process in bettering the world, apparently. That's how that works. So kones. But here is a Beit Midrasha. Midrash means to seek out. This is a house of seeking out God. That's what a Beit Midrash is. A Beit Midrash is where you go to get answers, where you want to go to seek out God and to understand what these concepts mean. So when these kids arrive to the house of study, just the Beit Midrash, the house of seeking God and God's wisdom, which is the Torah, as we'll see here. So they were saying such amazing things that haven't even been heard of since the time of Yehoshua. Lo itmar kavathai, were not said like them. The words that they were saying haven't even been said since that time. And this is how it begins. This is what those little kids in the Beit Midrash were saying. And so they begin with the letters Aleph and Bet. The source of the Greek, of course, Alpha and Beta. The source of the English, alphabet. You know, just why that's called that. And Alpha and everything having to do, this is again Aleph. Aleph, the first letter. So anyway, Aleph Bet, the little children say Aleph Bet, Aleph Bina. So Aleph is learn face to face. Bina is understanding. Okay? That's just, we'll translate that for right now, and we're about to explain it even further. So Rashi, which is an acronym, it's taking the first letter of these names. So the first letters combined together spell Rashi, but it stands for Rabbeinu Shlomo Yitzchaki. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, who Baruch Hashem, a sage from over 1,000 years ago, who basically wrote helpful notes for students to be able to learn properly on almost the entire Torah. So one of the most quoted sages, so they made an acronym to say Rashi instead of saying Rabbeinu Shlomo Yitzchaki every time. Baruch Hashem, one of the most quoted sages. Okay, so Rashi notes that by Aleph Bina, Rashi writes Limod Torah, learn Torah. So in English, Aleph was translated as learn, and Limod was translated as learn. And this is a huge principle that everything is lost in translation. By Hagaon Rav Moshe Shapira Zatzal, really demonstrating this. So how many of these, there are no such things as synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh. The fact that we're looking at two different words means they each have their own unique meaning. And so what would be the difference between Aleph, which would get translated as learn, and Limod, which is translated as learn? So Hagaon Harav Zamir Kohen Shlita explains that Aleph is the highest level of learning, and that is face to face, and it's seen in the letters itself. That's the amazing thing. The definition is seen in the letters themselves. So the word Aleph, if you notice the shape, so I think that I kind of should have went through the unique features of Lashon HaKodesh, so we're aware of these things. But anyway, one of the unique features is that the letters are made up of other letters. So using that number chart of the Aleph Bet, where you could just clearly see all the letters, but here the Aleph is actually made up of a Yud that is above, a Yud that is below, and this line, parallel line, slanted line in the middle is a letter Vav, which is a Vav is also literally a hook, not a nail, a hook. A hook, it hooks two things and it hooks ideas together. Okay, so the Yud and the Yud, these are like, so what does it mean that it's seen in the letter itself? This is learn face to face. This is like two souls sitting across from each other, across from the table, learning the Torah together. So if I were to build a school or something, this is how the table would look like. That it would have a chair, two chairs facing each other. The table would be in the middle. It'd all be attached together like those high school chairs where the desk is attached to the chair. But the chair would look like this. It would be attached, and you're sitting across from your friend, and you're learning together the Torah. So the Aleph is face-to-face learning. That is the symbol of the letter Aleph, is face-to-face. And this is the highest level of learning. And this is the difference between Aleph and Limod. As Hagaon Rav Zamir Kohenshlit explains, Aleph, right, is together. Limod is learning that you could do by yourself. And that's also seen in the letter itself. When you look at the letter Lamed is a Vav, which is, basically, if you would just imagine in the most minimalist way, just like a person sitting on a chaf, on a chair, on a kiseh. Kaf is for kiseh as well. So it's like a person sitting on a chair. So you could be sitting on a chair learning alone as a student, just sitting at his table at night or whatever. And so Limod is when you're learning by yourself, but the highest level is Aleph. So not only that, but the letter Aleph is actually, there's three, I found there's probably more, but maybe three of like major ways to learn. So Aleph could either be, if you're looking at it from like the Yud above and the Yud below, the Yud above could be like a master teacher, and the Yud below could be a student. And the Aleph is the bridge that when they're learning from a master teacher to a student who wants to know everything and asks everything that he wants to know, and that's the correct way. The students ask the questions and the teachers answer. It seems that all the roles flipped. It's the teachers asking the kids the questions, but it's really the kids that are supposed to be asking the teachers the questions. And so you have the teacher and the student, or this is just two friends who are learning together, and the sages compare this to two dull knives. And I heard this from someone in the in the Sephardic YU Beit Midrash. Forgot the Rav's name, but my brother Shlita said that this is found in Masechet Ta'anit, I think, if I'm quoting that correctly. But anyway, the sages themselves say this mashal example, that two friends who learn together are like two dull knives, that when they strike each other, they sharpen each other. So this is so that's another high level of learning. Simply just you and your friend, and because your friend could say something that could cause you to think of something, and there's no such thing as a stupid question, even if it's sincere. And if someone says something, even if he said something that might have been wrong, but that could have set off something in your head, and you could have, and that's how you work together to get to the answers. Or simply just if you make a mistake, the other person can catch you, and that's why it's such a high level of learning, that you could correct each other. But a person learning alone, if he misreads something and doesn't go over it constantly, then he might miss it or whatever. But that's why, again, Aleph is the highest level, face to face learning together as one. Aleph is the letter 1. It's the first letter in the alphabet. One of the unique features of the alphabet is that the alphabet themselves are not only pictures, but they're also numbers. So the Aleph is 1. It's the concept of a perfect unity, two friends learning together as one. And then the third level, so we said that teacher to student, friend to friend, and also husband and wife. When they unite, the highest level of learning, the whole Torah is being fulfilled. Okay, so that is the letter Aleph. So now we know the difference between Aleph and Limod, both translated as learn in English, but now we know that Aleph is learn together, face to face as one. The Torah that begins with the letter Bet. So now let's get into the letter Bet. The little children said Bina. Bina is translated as understanding. So Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, what does this mean? Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan Zatzal explains. Bina, the source of the word Bina, is Bain, which means between. Bina is the ability to differentiate between two different things and to understand something from another thing. So the letter bet, you could see the letter bet is 2 numerically, and visually it looks like division, that you can imagine that this top line split from this bottom line, like it just split and went up, so it divided like that. Or bet is literally half the letter aleph. If you look at the letter aleph, if you tilt your head to the right and you just know, and you block the bottom yud with, you block this bottom yud with your hand, you notice the shape of the letter bet. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's itself in the name of the Sefer Haba here, but just the image of the letter bet, that you see that on the aleph. So bet is literally half the letter aleph. Bet is already division. Bet is 2, splitting in half, or splitting top from bottom, heaven and earth. That is bina, and bina, the ability to differentiate between things, as we're going to see examples. Bina, as we just saw, we needed to use bina, we needed to use that understanding to differentiate between aleph and the mod, the difference between them. We needed bina for that. Bina is this ability to see the difference between these two things, to compare them and to see how they're different, or how they're the same. So before we continue, I think that it actually is important to go through that chart of, I hope I'm doing like the right thing. This is why, like, it's all good practice and stuff. So I'll just do this kind of quick, or whatever, as necessary. But the unique features, so we covered some of them. The aleph bet are the building blocks of the world that Hashem spoke and created the world. Hashem created the aleph bet, and with them created the world, and we could see the letters in the world itself, as we're going to see by the end of this booklet. An example of a tree specifically, and as we said, korim yamin l'smol, you read from right to left. The aleph bet are pictures. As we're seeing now, we're starting to understand more of what these letters are depicting. The letters move. We covered that some of the letters can either be bent or straight or open or closed depending on where they are. This doesn't exist really in other languages, that the letters change based on whatever. But anyway, this is just a unique feature of Lashon HaKodesh. Everything is male or female. Hakol zachar o nekeva. Everything in the world is either male or female. And as we learn from the second verse of the entire Torah, v'ha'aretz haita, and the earth, she was, meaning the earth is a feminine thing. Haita is conjugated in the feminine. It doesn't say v'ha'aretz haya, which would be male. It says v'ha'aretz haita, meaning she was, teaching us the earth is a feminine thing. And this is completely lost in translation. In the English, you just have, and the earth was void, and that's it. What? Here, Baruch Hashem, again, is a great example of how much is lost in translation. So everything is either male or female, even such a concept as teaching us the earth, right? Okay. So, ein milim nir defot. There are no synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh, right? The fact that you're looking at two different words means they each have their own unique meaning. And this is our sages also teach, that just like their faces are different, so too are all their thoughts and everything about them. Every person is a unique, brand new universe. That's why the sages teach, if a person saves even one person, it's as if he saved an entire universe, because a person is called a miniature universe by the sages. That is what a person is. Okay, l'chol ot yesh mispar, every letter is also a number. So we covered that. The letters are made up of other letters, otiot murkavot meotiot aharot, and perush hamila betoch hamila atzma. The definition of a word is in the word itself, or the definition of a letter is in the letter itself, as we're just seeing now. And using the numbers, just quickly, mispar gadol and mispar katan. Mispar gadol is just taking the face value, exactly the numerical value of each of these letters. So for example, the word ahava and the word echad, because if you were to conjugate it, it would be ahava achat, as several people pointed out, and that is absolutely true. But I'm called ahava, or we're calling this whole company sort of ahava and echad, not so much that we're trying to conjugate it, but just saying ahava and echad, two beautiful words, but when you add them together, that's the whole point. So aleph, using the number chart, you'll be able to go through this. And mispar katan is basically dropping the zeros, sort of getting to the essence of what something is. Because let's say this bet is 2, a resh is 200. So basically it's a 2 inflated 100 times. Basically the 2 is the minimal number. And basically you calculate that out, basically dropping all the zeros, and you calculate all of that using the number chart. and you can use the number chart and just see for yourself if you can figure out which letters make up the other letters, if you can see them. Okay, and so the letter bet. Now we're trying to understand the letter bet. So the kid said, Aleph, learn together, face to face, together as one, the Torah that begins with the letter bet. So the Torah begins with this letter specifically, this letter bet. And the bet, how do you know the difference, right? We say in Havdalah, Hamavdil, Bein Kodesh Lechol, Bein Or Lechoshech. That Hashem divides between light and between darkness. Between what's called Kodesh and Chol. Holiness, it would be translated, and Chol. We're about to see what that means by the letter Kuf, Bezrat Hashem. So, what tells you the difference between things? And that is exactly the Torah. The Torah teaches a person the difference between light and darkness, the difference between what's good and what's not good. That is what the Torah is. And so the kids are saying from the very first two letters, learn together the Torah that begins with the letter Bet. And so Rabbi Akiva is the one to ask, why does the Torah begin with the letter Bet? As we said, because it's closed on all sides and it's open to the future. And this is a very important lesson gone over once again by Rabbi Nachman of Breslov in just the opening chapter in Likutei Moharan, just saying basically just what Rabbi Akiva is saying, is just the fact that it's so important. Beginning is all about the future. Notice you shouldn't look back into the past. It's all about the future. When you want to start something new, focus all your energy on the future. Forget the past. Take everything, all the experiences and everything that you've learned, but never dwell on the past. Always move ahead to the future, to the beautiful future, and it's going to be extremely, extremely beautiful. So the letter Bet is specifically built in such a way that it moves only to the future. It's open like that. So Binah is this ability to understand. So it's the Torah that begins with the letter Bet that teaches a person the difference between what is good and what is not, what is light and what is dark, what is going on in this world. Basically, that is exactly what the Torah is. So obviously the enemy sort of in the video game is going to try to prevent people from learning the Torah, because if you want to defeat somebody, chas v'shalom, you cut them off from the very things that give them life and strength. So that's why the enemy wants to, chas v'shalom, make sure that people never see the Aleph Bet and never learn sort of these 22 keys to life. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, we have great leaders like Hagaon Rav Zamir Cohen Shlita who are teaching the world the Aleph Bet. Until I saw in the book, I never knew that there exists this entire method of learning the Aleph Bet. So Aleph and Bet, Aleph Bina, learn together, face to face, together as one, the Torah that begins with the letter Bet. And not only that, but on the letter Aleph, the sages were so serious about learning with a partner that the sages even said, O chavruta, o metuta, either a friend or death, chas v'shalom. That's how serious it is to really learn with someone and to be with someone, to have that close relationship with someone. And a friend is a person who helps you grow and who helps you in life, and not just, it seems that the definition of friends is like people who just hang out together and do the worst things to each other, and they're called best friends. No. A friend is someone who helps you in life and is with you whenever you need. That's a real friend. Okay, so that's how the sages were so serious. And obviously, a friend is ultimately your spouse, Bezrat Hashem, your friend, the closest partner. And for kids, it's their siblings, their brothers and sisters together. So that is Aleph, Bet, and Bet is Aleph. Okay. So I said after every sort of section, I wanted to just take a look, just to see if there's any comments on the things. So before to move on, so just 1 second, please. We just checked. Okay. No questions so far. So the letter bet. Bet is bina. So now the kids, so we got the first two letters, and now the kids move on to the letters Gimel and Dalet. Gimel and Dalet, they say Gimel Dalet is Gimol Dalim. Give to the poor. So the kids say, Mai ta'ama, what is the reason? Pshuta kar'e de Gimel legabe Dalet. What is the reason that the leg of the Gimel points and extends towards the Dalet? Okay, so the Gimel Dalim is give to the poor. Gimel is, okay, so the kids note, again, they're asking very visual questions. So they're saying, what's the reason that this leg, or just this part of the Gimel, is sort of pointing at the Dalet? And it says, and Rashi writes, Velo legabe bet, and the Gimel is, pointing this way and not pointing the other way towards the bet. And the kids answer, Sheken darko shel gomel chasedim, for this is the way of a gomel chesed, to run after the poor, to larutz achar dalim. So the way of a giver is to extend a helping hand. So Gimel is one of the letters that's made up of two other letters. So you could see here the letter Zayin, and you could see here an upside down letter Yud. And Yud literally is a yad, it's a hand. So the Gimel is literally extending a helping hand to the Dalit, the poor one, who's lacking, who's like, you see this empty space. And so, what is the kids then ask? And what is the reason that the leg of the dalit extends towards the gimel? And so the kids say, because sheken darko shel, dilimtza le nafshe, to make known to him himself. Meaning, it's up to the poor person to make himself known to the giver, so that the giver can reach him. Because if the poor person is hidden away somewhere, then the giver could never get to him and to give over what, either the money or just the help, or if you ask to borrow something, whatever it is. So that is the lesson. So on one hand, the poor person has to extend, make sure that he makes himself known to the poor person. But the kids ask, I'm just going to, you see, this is something that I wanted to establish also, like if I should translate every single word and letter, or just read it in English and then just do it like that. So that's something we're still trying to figure out. But it is especially difficult trying to do it like this, because there is no like live feedback, and you don't know your crowd, especially. So you want it to be able to speak to everybody at the same time at once, but some might like more detail, some might like it, they think it's too much detail. So again, B'ezrat Hashem, all these things will be adjusted, but you let me know. But anyway, what is the reason that the face of the dalet turns away from the gimel? And the kids say, Deliten le bitzin'a ki heichi de lo lichsif mine, so that the giver can give bitzin'a, like tzniut, can give it discreetly, ki heichi de lo lichsif mine, to not cause embarrassment from him, so that the poor person would not feel embarrassed, because it's embarrassing to have to receive. And so the giver gives discreetly, the dalit turns his face away, and the gimel can give to the dalit. So on one hand, the dalit is extending towards the giver, because the poor person should make himself known to the giver. But on the other hand, the dalit turns its face away, because it's embarrassing to have to receive. And so the kids here are teaching us the highest level of tzedakah. Zagaon Rav Zamir Kohen Shlita teaches in the name of the Rambam, who writes, the highest level of tzedakah is when the giver does not know who he's giving to, and the receiver does not know who he's getting from. So the giver would be like looking away this way, the dalit is looking away that way, but he's extending his hand like sort of backwards to the Dalit, who's also extending his hand, so no one knows who's giving to who. The goal is obviously the money goes to the right place, but the fact that that's why it's always done through a third party. And again, the Gimel is the letter 3, that this giving, the giving is completed on the highest level through a party of 3. You have the giver and the receiver, and then you have a middleman, so that the giver doesn't know who's getting the money, and the who's getting the money doesn't know who is giving the money. And why is this the great level? Because if the giver knew who he was giving to, then every time they would see each other in the streets, then he would say, he might feel like, look at me, I helped this guy, like I'm so great, and maybe become haughty from it. Or the flip side is that if the giver has no idea who he gave to, but the receiver still knows who gave to him, every time they're going to meet in the streets, the poor person is going to feel embarrassed from this person every time he sees him. So the highest level is when both parties don't know who's giving to who, anything like that. Okay, so the Gimel Dalit is Gimel Dalim, give to the poor. Gimel is like Milut Chasadim. Art Scroll translates it as aid, help, give exactly what they need. Give. So Gimel has all of those meanings, meaning giving exactly what's needed so that they wouldn't need it anymore. Like you help the person out for real. Help them stand up, sort of. So that's the letter Gimel Dalet, give to the poor. So Aleph Bet is learn the Torah, learn together the Torah that begins with the letter Bet. Gimel Dalet is then give to the poor. Then the kids get to the letters Hey and Vav, and they say Hey Vav. Zeh Shmo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the name of Hashem. And so Rashi writes that this is one of the names of Hashem, as it says in Masechet Sukkah, this name of God and this name of God, Hoshiana. Save us, please. So Hey and Vav is a name of Hashem. Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So our sages teach, Hagaon Harav Moshe Shapira Zatzal teaches that in the name of the Ramban, he says that the whole Torah is the names of Hashem. And so also what's significant about the letters Hey and Vav, so as we say on Pesach, Chamisha Me'odea, who knows 5? Chamisha Ani Yodea, I know 5. Chamisha Chumshei Torah, 5 are the fifths of Torah. The 5 fifths of Torah, meaning not books, but they're called fifths. Meaning that each, what we call book, is really a fifth of the complete story. 1 out of 5 of the complete story. Meaning the Torah is one complete thing. But and that's why it's so important to look at an authentic Torah scroll, because then you really see that the whole Torah is on one scroll. It's not split up. When you're printing, you could split the books up into sort of 5 separate hardcover books, let's say. But on an authentic scroll, you realize that the whole story is one fluid story, from the first letter Bet to the last letter Lamed, and it's all one. It all connects together. Okay, and so the letter Hey is the 5 fifths of Torah, and the Vav is who knows 6, and then we say I know 6. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, 6 are the orders of the Mishnah. Moshe brought down the entire spoken Torah and organized it. So these are the 6 orders of the Mishnah. Originally there were many more, but the Mishnah, everything, we received the Torah in its entirety at Har Sinai. So Hey and Vav, this is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's very interesting. The word Zeh is being used here, because as we just did the letters Gimel Dalet, right? Gimel Dalet is basically where you see that the letter Gimel is made up of the letter Zayin and the letter Yud. So when the Gimel gives the Yud to the Dalet, the Gimel is now left as a Zayin, and the Dalet becomes the letter Hey. So after that, the kids say, Zeh Shmo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the name of HaKadosh, which would be translated the Holy One. So what does holy mean? So B'ezrat Hashem, by the letter Kuf, we'll get to finally the definition of what the word holy means. And Baruch Hu. but at the same time, Hashem is all right. So I guess you have to do it here. So the letter Kuf, the kids say Kuf is Kadosh. The letter Kuf depicts Kedusha, depicts the meaning of what's translated in English as holy. But in order to understand anything, we always have to go back to the source code of creation, to the Torah. Lashon HaKodesh, the language of the code. That's literally what it is. Kodesh is set apart, designated. Code is a specific designated set of rules. But anyway, so Kadosh, looking at the letter itself, we see that the letter Kuf is one of the two letters with two seemingly separate parts. And here it's conveniently, the other one is the letter He. So it means separate. Kadosh, when we say something is holy, what's translated as holy, Kadosh means, as seen in the letter, set apart, elevated, above, unique. There's nothing like it. Kadosh. That means unique and set apart. That's why it's called Lashon HaKodesh, because this language stands apart from all the other languages on earth. And Hashem is Kadosh, but not only that, the angels themselves, on their level, say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Hashem is completely incomprehensible. The infinite, which is infinite, which is not finite, which is nothing finite. Hashem is the infinite being that generates and sustains the entire universe at every single second. And we live in a time where we can finally begin to understand these concepts, understand what our sages have been saying for thousands of years, is that Hashem generates the entire universe every moment, and we know this from video games, that we know as long as there's electricity constantly flowing through the system does the entire video game exist every single second. And in a video game, anything goes. In a video game, whoever creates the video game you can do whatever you want in the video game. So anyway, the video game is being generated every single second, and all right. Sorry about that. So basically, we just covered the first 6 letters. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and Hey, and Vav. Aleph, Bet, as we said, learn together the Torah that begins with the letter Bet, and give to the poor in the best way possible, where the giver doesn't know who's giving and the receiver doesn't know who's receiving, and giving discreetly. And that's why also it's good to give into a charity box in the shuls or in the grocery stores or wherever, and that money gets then distributed to the correct places. And again, nobody knows who's giving, nobody knows who's receiving. I mean, you do know who's receiving. You don't know the individuals, the organizations that help distribute it. But yeah, nobody knows who's receiving ultimately, and it's the highest level. And Staka Tatzil Mimavet, giving charity, as Shlomo HaMelech says, saves a person from death. That's why before traveling abroad or to all these different places, people sometimes give money to the person and say, go and give this to a charity when you get there. So now they've made them a messenger to fulfill this good deed, to fulfill this action, to give charity. And that will save them on their journey, be an extra protection for them on their journey, an extra merit, for them. So anyway, those are the first 2 letters. Sorry, those are the first 6 letters. And, this is our first time sort of doing like a live stream like this. We're testing it out. We're supposed to maybe meet up at Rebbe Nachman University here in Brooklyn, but maybe that will be for the next time. We decided to try this method out. see if it works. But okay, so anyway, now the kids say, now there's a shift. Now what happens is like this. V'im ata oseken, and if you do this, meaning if you do the first 4 letters, if you aleph, bet, and gimel, dalet, then hakadosh baruch hu, then the hey and vav, the name of God, then Hashem is going to then, so there's going to be a separate video explaining fully what is Hashem and what is God and all of these terms and, you know, what's lost in English. God is an English word, but what is the definition of the word Hashem? That's a whole different story. Again, everything, we always have to go back to Lashon HaKodesh to begin to understand. But anyway, then says Hashem, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if you do the first 4 letters, learning together the Torah, and that begins with the letter Bet in its true form, and then giving to the poor, then the Hashem, who is the giver of the Torah, and this is one of the names of God, then Hashem is going to Zanotcha, the letter Zayin. We're going to go through this quick and then come back to each one. B'ezrat Hashem. So Hashem Zanotcha, sustains you. Vechet vechenotcha, and favors you. Tet umetiv lecha, and does good for you. Yud v'noten lecha Yerusha, and gives you inheritance. Kaf v'kosher lecha keter, and Hashem is going to tie for you a crown. Lamed leolam haba, for the world to come, to the world to come. So now let's go and explain each of these, hopefully. This is all like good practice. Each time, I hope to be doing this like several times, either once a month, or once a week, or once a month, depending on how it works out. But B'ezrat Hashem, we'll figure out the best way. Anyway, the letter Zayin is Zan Otcha. Hashem's going to sustain you. Now, we just touched upon this point, that this is the meaning of Hashem Zan et haolam kulo b'tuvo. When we say after eating bread, we say a thank you to Hashem, and that's called Birkat HaMazon, the blessing of the Mazon, which is the sustenance. But Zan is to sustain. And so this perhaps is one of the reasons for such a long exile that literally seems endless, as the sages teach in Midrash Rabbah, that this final exile literally seems endless. Shehi, as Hagon Rav Moshe Shapira Zatzal quoted several times, Shehi ketehom she'en la cheker. It's like the infinite depths. There's no end in sight, basically, to this dark, long exile. But chas v'shalom, we have the ALEF bet. So anyway, that this exile is so long, maybe one of the reasons for it being so long is the fact that we finally can reach this digital age where we can begin to understand what our sages have been saying for thousands of years. And that finally begin to understand what it means Hashem Zan. Hashem sustains the entire universe at every single second. And this is the mashal. The mashal is the relatable experience that we could use to understand something similar with. So the mashal here is video games and the whole digital virtual world or universe. Basically, we know that as long as there's electricity constantly flowing through the system, does the entire video game exist. So too, that is what is meant by Hashem wills the entire universe to exist at every single second, right now. Meaning, it's wrong to say Hashem created in the past, that Hashem did something in the past. Hashem creates and generates in the present tense the universe at every single second, just like the electricity sustains the virtual world, so too does Hashem will the entire universe to exist. And this is even proven through scientific studies and sources, that basically, as quoted by Hagaon Harav Zamir Cohen Shlita, is that the more you zoom into even inanimate objects, sorry, just making sure. Alright, the more you zoom into even inanimate objects, everything, the molecules and protons, atoms, neutrons, all these different things, all these nightmares from chemistry, all of those things, whatever, I don't get why they get to name these things. Maybe they're named something else in reality, but whatever. Basically, all of these things are constantly moving and spinning and vibrating. So to us, the table seems completely still and solid. and a stone seems completely, literally rock hard. So what is the what does it mean that this thing is being generated? But we know that the more you zoom in, even what appears to be completely solid and still is really, in fact, everything is vibrating and generating. And this is exactly the letter Zayin, which is zzz, the exact sound of electricity, the exact sound of movement, buzzing, a fly buzzing by. This is the letter Zayin, which is zzz, constantly a buzzing, moving sound. And the exact, visually, it's like a beam of light, or three lights, whatever. It's just like explosion of light. That's the letter Zayin. And Hashem zanotcha. Hashem is going to sustain you every single second, just like the virtual world, right? With electricity, Hashem is going to sustain you and give you everything that you need by doing those letters, by following what Hashem says in the Aleph Bet. Aleph Bet, find a friend, learn together the Torah, give to the poor, help each other. And giving to the poor is not just with money. It's also with information. If someone lacks some information and you have it, you can give it to them. Or with anything. But basically, there are people, if someone's lacking something, you try to help them and fill what they're lacking for real, in a good way. So then Hey and then Hey and Vav are the names of God. So basically, you do those things, then God, which is these two letters, then Hashem is going to then sustain you, as we just said, just like the virtual world, right? Then Chen is Chenotcha. Chet, the letter Chet, means Chenotcha, which is translated usually as favor you. But what does this mean? Chen is translated as favor, or grace, or charm, but again, the definition is in the letters itself, in their true forms. So, the letter Chet is a doorway. One of the many things that the letters depict. Obviously, this is not just one thing that the letter depicts. The letters depict many different things. But one of the things that the letter Chet depicts is Chet depicts is a doorway, an entranceway, right? If you just walk down through the corridor, whatever. So, v'chen otcha, Hashem is going to favor you. Chen is favor, so it means that, as I think this is in Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, Chen means you, or whatever, just you find the open door, not whatever, but just, I can't remember the source, but when a person has chen, it's as if they have an open door to your soul. Like the language used is imna matzati chen be'einecha. If I found chen in your eyes, if I found an opening in your heart, if I found an opening in your eyes, sometimes you see people and you don't know why you like them. That's charm. Basically, we just like sort of let them in. That they have some way about them, and they have found the opening in our eyes. We like them. That is chen. They have an open door to our hearts. That is, again, chen. So Hashem is saying, if you do those things, I, Hashem, am going to favor you. How much more so will all people? So Hashem is going to favor you, and you'll have that open door, meaning all your prayers, as Rabbi Nachman writes, you will get answered when you have chen, and you have this, you find the opening that you can, So that's the letter Chet. Hashem will favor you by doing the first four letters of the Aleph Bet, and then Tet, Hashem umetiv lecha, is going to do good for you. So the letter Tet, again, the letter Tet depicts a protective womb. A protective womb. It surrounds and protects. Like the negative space inside is white, the white yud. So Hashem says, umetiv lecha. Hashem is going to do good for you, meaning, so, this was one of the letters that I was having sort of more difficulty with, but I think we got it down the last time we gave the lesson over. But the letter Tet, so let's start with this visual. The letter Tet depicts a snake. The letter Tet, if you imagine a tongue sticking out here, the letter Tet is a snake. Basically, I mean, obviously there is no snake with three sort of horns on its head, although there is actually a snake with some horns on its face, but whatever, either way, this is like a snake with his head here, facing, this way, and then this is his neck going down, this is his belly on the floor, and this is the tail that is curled up behind him, and he's moving that way. So anyway, the letter Tet is a snake. So how is that good? What is the good? So basically, that is the definition of good. How do you get the reward? Is by playing through the game. Is by beating the game. That's the reward. The harder it is, the more rewarding it is when you overcome it. And this is the snake. This is the enemy that stands in our way. So, in our way. And basically, this is the challenger, and it challenges us. And this challenge, notice not burden or anything, but a challenge. It makes things challenging, and basically, the sages say, "Lefum tsa'ara agra," according to the challenge is the reward of that thing. Not even just getting another reward, simply beating something that you know that you can, and it's just in front of you, and you're a challenger. In any game, you always want to win, and you can win. And so that's the reward. The rewarding part is actually winning. So mitiv lecha is this, by going against, and not only that, by taking this sort of what evil and using it for the good, taking this what's called yetzer hara, and using it, turning it into a yetzer hara, or using it in a good manner. Okay, so the other tov, the other good thing that Hashem does is that, like a protective womb, Hagaon Rav Moshe Shapira Zatzal says, there is no greater good than a baby in the womb. As our sages teach, that a baby in the womb, in fact, an angel teaches them the entire Torah. And there is a lantern, or like some kind of light, above their head, and with this light they could see from one end of the universe to the next. And when the baby is born, the angel touches them on the lips, or strikes them, and they forget everything they once knew. But it's all left as an impression in their head, right? You remove basically something that's been somewhere so long, like a box that's been sitting on the carpet, and you remove it, the carpet has now an impression of that box for all these years. But anyway, all the Torah that we once knew left an impression. And basically, as Zev's friend Shlita, I think his name was Chaim, I don't remember exactly, but he was explaining to we were talking with Yael as well over there. I'm just remembering that night. But what he said he reminded me of this teaching, is that when you're learning Torah, you're never really learning new things. You're really remembering things you already knew, because we already all knew the Torah, and we just forgot it when we were born. So relearning, when you're learning things now, you're learning things, you're really relearning things you already knew. So there is no greater good than a baby in the womb who's all protected and warm and cared for and nurtured, and just learning Torah all day. That's something that only the sages transmit, that what's actually happening. And so that is also the good, that Hashem umetiv lecha. Hashem, so either Hashem is going to give you, so you can have your own kids, and not only that, but as we say on Pesach, Tet is Tisha meodea. Who knows 9? I know 9. Tisha yarchei ledar, or the moons of pregnancy. There are 9 moons when, during the pregnancy, and basically this is again the letter Tet, which resembles the womb as well. This white upside down yud in the womb. And so there is no greater good than having kids. And in today's time, it might seem like a joke to say that, but that's really true for the parents who have had kids. It's there is nothing more precious, and that's the greatest good. And so many people wish, B'ezrat Hashem, that they have their own kids, and B'ezrat Hashem, may Hashem, who is in complete control of everything, may Hashem just let B'ezrat Hashem, for the good, may they give birth like Sarah to amazing children, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so Tet is the good. The letter Yud, Hashem is going to give you inheritance. Yud is Yerusha, inheritance. So the inheritance, Yud, is like a little kid. So after the letter Tet, right, the negative space, the Yud comes out of the Tet. And then you're left with a little Yud. A Yud is like a baby, like a little person. And maybe that's the inheritance, that your children inherit you. Or Yud is Yerusha. In first, Yud is like a coin or a possession Hashem is going to give you. that you'll have your own land, you'll have your own family. Yerusha is going to give you all of that good. Chaf, Hashem is going to kosher lecha keter. Hashem is going to tie for you a crown. So kaf is keter, which is a crown, which may look like that crown, or it kind of looks like the, if you're, I guess, on its side, if you tilt your head to the right, this would be the top, and your head goes in here. I don't know, but anyway, Hashem is going to tie for you a crown. Lamed is leolam haba. Lamed is to the world to come, for the world to come. So the Torah begins with the letter bet. Bet is 2. So there were 2 worlds that were created, in this world and the next world, the world to come. This world is for doing actions. While we're in bodies, we can actually do things. We can lift things. We can move things. We can help people. We can do things while we're still in bodies. And then as a soul, that's it. The body is an amazing thing, because with the body, Baruch Hashem, we're able to affect change in a physical world. Without the body, we'd be just a soul, and we couldn't do anything here anymore. So this world is for doing, the world to come is for enjoying and for the pleasure. And our sages, to put it into perspective, say that if you were to add up, as our Gaon Zamir Kohenshita says, if you were to add up all of the physical pleasure that all of humanity experienced since the beginning of time here on earth, in this world, it wouldn't equal to one sort of scent, just one breath of the world to come, of how much of what awaits in the world to come. So obviously, God forbid, you don't, so you're like, some jokers or whatever they want to say, like, oh, so if it's so good there, why don't we just kill ourselves now, God forbid? Because our whole reward is based on what we do here. Meaning that here in this world, you build your future. You build your world to come with the tools with all the good deeds that you've put in, and everything that builds you up for the next world, so that you can enjoy all the good that you've done. And so this world is extremely, extremely important to get to that world. But anyway, the lamed, when you're saying going to a place, you attach the letter lamed before your destination. So I'm going to the house. Ani holech lebeiti. I'm going to this place, to my house. So the lamed is always attached, meaning to. So the ultimate to, where we're all headed, is Olam Haba. Olam Haba, the world to come, is the most beautiful part of existence. As our Gaon Rav Zamir Kohenshita says, you can leave your doors unlocked. Your kids could play in the streets at night. You could board international flights, pay when you get there. And it's the most beautiful part. There's no more evil, there's no more sickness, there's no more death. You're now free to enjoy the world with God, and free to enjoy this beautiful world that God is going to renew again. So people are concerned about renewable energy and everything. The prophets, Hagon Moshe Shapira Zatzal, says that Hashem is going to renew the world itself. Hashem is generating the video game. You can do whatever you want. You can have infinite ammo. You can have infinite health, infinite whatever. Again, Hashem is in full control of everything. But we all want to get to that level together. Hashem wants every single one of us to be on the same page to get to that level. And no single boy and girl left behind. None of these horror stories that 4/5 got left behind in Egypt. God forbid any of these things. This time we want to get it all right. Everyone together. And we all want this. So, Bezrat Hashem. So, Lamed is to the world to come. So, to recap again, is that from the very beginning, if you Aleph Bet and you Gimel Dalet, then Hashem, then the Hey Vav is going to Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed for you. Sustain you, favor you, give you good, give you inheritance, tie for you a crown for the world to come. Hashem is going to do all of these things for us. So again, these are the kids teaching us this. This is the first things that we were all supposed to receive when we first started making sounds, and for the world to come. So now the kids get up to the letters Mem. So Mem, again, this is not so much that there are two letter mems, it's just that the letters themselves move. If I'm understanding this correctly, it's the letters move. The mem could either be open or the m could be closed. The mem could be closed. So the kids say mem petucha, an open mem, or mem situma, a closed mem. And here, to what's interesting, to make these sort of symbols in our learning. Chet is a doorway, right? So patuach means open. It's open like a doorway or hallway is open. But mem situma, the word situma begins with the letter sameh, which is sealed off, closed off on all sides. So this is situma, it's closed. So the kids say ma'amar patuach, ma'amar satum. Ma'amar is a saying or teaching that is open, meaning meant to be understood, and there's a ma'amar satum. There is a certain teaching that's meant to be kept hidden and concealed. And this is what Rashi writes: Yesh dvarim shenitan reshut ledoreshan, veyesh adam mitzuveh lesotman kegon ma'aseh merkava. There are certain things that you have permission to seek out the answers and to understand, but there are certain things that we're commanded to keep hidden, to keep secret. And Rashi writes, just like ma'aseh merkava, which is very interesting. If you're supposed to conceal it, so basically maybe you could know about it, but the way to actually access it. So kegon ma'aseh merkava, like the workings of what's called the workings of the chariot. Basically how the prophets received their prophecies or what they saw as written out in full detail in the opening of Yechezkel. And obviously, without the Targum, it is impossible to understand what's actually going on over there. And so that's why we need it, and it's absolutely essential. But basically, even still with the Targum, all of those teachings are very cryptic, and so without a master teacher explaining it, you wouldn't be able to understand it. But not only that, Rashi is saying Ma'amar Satum here, it's even a mitzvah to keep it hidden. That's why certain books, certain very deep Kabbalistic books, were printed specifically out of order and printed in acronyms, printed in ways that would prevent those who have no business dealing with these things, and to protect people, because information that we're not ready for is actually only damaging. So that's why it's very important to learn the Torah that you need at your level and to never skip levels, especially anything with Kabbalah before we learn the entire written and revealed Torah. And God forbid to think that that's the only interesting Torah. Clearly, these people who say that have never really learned the ALEF bit, because this is the most fascinating, most amazing thing. Okay, so there are certain teachings that are open, they're open for all, and there are certain teachings that are closed off and sealed off and you can't get into them. Okay, so that was the letter Mem. So there are certain teachings that are open, certain teachings that are meant to be closed until you, and Rabbi Zamir Cohen Shlita says, until you delve deep into them to try to really understand them and unlock them and understand what's going on. Then the letter Nun. So the letter Nun is another one of the letters that has a final form depending on where it is in the word. And these are the prophets themselves. Tzofim are the seers, the prophets who used to see into the future, see the letters and see the future, see the world as it is. Again, this is all these concepts. This is, again, the Matrix was based on a lot of these concepts, thrown together. But obviously it went off in some certain parts. But it's a very good movie. It's my favorite movie. It's a good movie to explain, to be able to use as a further tool to explain to people, to relate to something. But anyway, the letter Nun. So the Nun, the kids say Nun kefufa. Nun is the bent Nun, kefufa. And again, I highlighted the kaf because kaf, bent, when you take a straight stick and you bend it, when you're mekofef, you turn it into the letter kaf. Kaf, this letter, right? It's written kaf pei, but when you're bending the stick, this is how it looks like. It looks exactly like the letter kaf. So kaf is to bend like that. So nun kefufa, bent over nun, and a nun peshuta, straight extended nun. That's why I highlighted the vav, because vav is like a pillar standing up straight and tall. So there's a nun that's bent over, and there's a nun that's straight up. And so the kids say nun is ne'eman kafuf, and the nun that's straight up, ne'eman pashut. Ne'eman is a trustworthy person that's bent, meaning bent over in humility, and ne'eman pashut, a trustworthy person who is extended straight. So okay, so Hagaon Arav Moshe Shapira Zatzal explains, what does it mean ne'eman? Trustworthy. So trustworthy is a level. A person is only called a ne'eman, or a being is only called ne'eman, when you can depend your life on this person or being, and your family and your friend's life on this person or being, etc. So we call Hashem a ne'eman, v'ne'eman ata le'achayot metim. You Hashem, we trust you completely that you're going to revive the dead once again. And Hashem called Moshe a ne'eman. And Hashem called Moshe a ne'eman, as we say in the Tefillah, Yismach Moshe b'matnat chelko ki eved ne'eman karatalo. You Hashem called him an eved ne'eman, a trustworthy servant, because how many times did Moshe pray for the entire nation once again and save the whole nation? He was trustworthy. We could depend our lives, well, only on Hashem, but Moshe's whole being and purpose was to show them that it's only Hashem. That was actually why Moshe, my father explained this, and it seems to be very, probably the reason. Like, I asked my father, why does Moshe always have to put up his hands? Like Hashem told him, put up your hands and split the sea. Or, well, not you split the sea, I messed up there. But like, Hashem says to Moshe, like, lift your hands. So I said, why do you need all these theatrics? Hashem is splitting the sea. Why does Moshe have to lift his hands to make it look as if he's splitting the sea? Right? Because many people think Moshe split the sea or Moses split the sea. No, Moses didn't split the sea. Hashem split the sea. So my dad said, no, that's exactly it. He's picking up his hands and saying, guys, look, this isn't me. Like, what? I'm holding a stick in my hand. I'm not splitting the sea. This is Hashem splitting the sea. So it's a very interesting kind of take on that. But so that is a level of trust of a person who is humble, bent before in humility. Okay, so Nun, we said before, Yehoshua ben Nun, Yehoshua the son of Nun. So they say your teacher is considered your father, like a real teacher, not like a teacher in school, but I'm saying like a teacher who you've learned from for years, like at his side, like a real person that you've heard many shiurim from. Like your real rabbi, like your real teacher, he's like your father. So So Yehoshua was the son of Nun, and over there it had a quote in the Talmud, like the son of the letter Nun. So meaning that Yehoshua was the son of the letter Nun, and the letter Nun is one of the things that it depicts like Moshe. Moshe, the humble servant, who was the trustworthy servant, bent over in humility. Moshe was the most humble of all people on earth. So this is so Yehoshua ben Nun, meaning son of the letter Nun, and the Nun is referring to Moshe. So he, if that's one of the explanations for that. Okay, but now moving on to the letters Samech and Ayin. Samech and Ayin. The kids group these letters together and they say Samech Ayin Simoch Aniyim, support the poor. And now I hear your excellent question. What would be the difference between Gimel Dalit Gimel Dalim and Samech Ayin Simoch Aniyim, support the poor? So I don't really know at this point in time, but I think I remember one of the people that, or just his name is Moshe, and Moshe told me maybe maybe it means the first time is you giving to someone. Maybe you're just giving a little bit of money or something like that. And maybe Simoch Aniyim is support, is more like you give them a job. You fully give them help them stand up. Maybe Gimol Dalim is like a one-time thing, but Simoch Aniyim is a constant thing. So maybe that's one explanation. But anyway, if you know, please let me know. So Samech Ayin Simoch Aniyim. Lishna Harina Lishon Acher. A different tongue, a different version, a different way to say. Meaning, not a different version doesn't mean the first version is incorrect. It means there's another teaching with this. There's a second take, like that's the first part. Now there's a second part, or lishna harina, another way to a different tongue. Samech Ayin stands for simanin aseh batorah v'kneota. Simanin are symbols, mnemonics, tricks, creates when you're learning the Torah, v'kneota, and then you'll acquire her, ota, her. Here the Torah is referred to as like a feminine. So you'll acquire the whole Torah by creating all these tricks and ways that help you remember and learn Torah. Then it helps to acquire. And it doesn't matter even if the trick, let's say, is a little bit silly or ridiculous. As long as it works for you, then it works. So that's the simanin. And also, the best sort of symbols and best tricks to use is always the aleph bet themselves. To always search, to try to see the letters that are hiding in the whole Torah. Search for the aleph bet hiding in things, and in the Torah especially, obviously, hiding in plain sight. All the aleph bet, and saying like, why is this letter here? Why is this letter hidden within this word? What is going on? And then you Bezrat Hashem will be able to get the answer. So anyway, to support the poor, and then the second version is simanin aseh batorah v'kneota. Make all these tricks as you're learning the Torah v'kneota. Not only that, but my Rabbi Moshe Asger Shlita Shem Yishmer V'chayo pointed out that is the bracha that we say, asok b'divrei Torah, asok esek b'Torah. We're commanded to be occupied in the Torah. Not that the version of the Gemara is asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav la'asok b'divrei Torah, kulanu yodei shmecha ve'oskei toratecha. Baruch atah Hashem. Oskei. That's the version of the Talmud, meaning we're occupied in the Torah, we're occupied in the mitzvot. But anyway, osek is ayin samech vekne. Simanin aseh vekne. So symbols, make for yourself and acquire the whole Torah. All these tricks that help you remember. So the letter Pei, again, Pei is one of the letters with two seemingly separate parts. The Pei that is closed and the Pei that's sort of open. So Pei kefufa, the letter Pei that is bent over, which I'm assuming is this here. Pei peshuta, the extended Pei is over here. Yes, that for sure it has to be. But then this is what I don't understand. Is it flipped? Pei patuach, an open Pei is, and Pei satum. One of these, I thought that this is the closed mouth and this is the open mouth. Because like if you move your bottom jaw down, then you open your mouth. I thought that this is the open mouth, but then the placement is weird. Why this is here and this is here, unless they're doing it like they're answering pshuta and then they're quickly answering this one, meaning so Pei patuach is this and then Pei satum would be this. Meaning, so I don't know, I'm confused at this particular part. But what does Rashi say? Meaning, what does it mean? So Pei literally is a mouth. So Pei patuach, an open mouth, and Pei satum, sealed off, a closed mouth. So Rashi writes, B'sha'at hamachnisim pazer. At the time when there are people who want to listen, and there's no one teaching, pazer, go and teach. But B'sha'at hamefazrim kanes. But at the time of when there's people teaching all of this amazing wisdom, kanes, meaning close your mouth and take in all of the information. And then Rashi adds, im yesh gadol mimcha. If there's someone greater than you in wisdom, then it's better for you to close the mouth and to open the ears, to listen. Okay, so alright. So that's the lesson there. There's times to open your mouth and there's times to close your mouth. When you see that there's no one around you teaching what needs to be taught or saying what needs to be done or standing up for what needs to be stood up, then you are the one who has to do it. B'ezrat Hashem, and you'll do it. Tzadi. Tzadi, again, another one of the letters that have that could move, being bent and straight. Tzadi kefufa, a tzadi that's bent over, and a tzadi peshuta that's straightened up. So tzadik kafuf, a tzaddik that's bent over, and tzaddik pashut, a tzaddik that's extended straight. So the kids ask, Hainu ne'eman kafuf, ne'eman pashut. Isn't this the same as the ne'eman kafuf and ne'eman pashut? We just had trustworthy, and if you notice, the letter tzadi is made up of the letter nun, right? And it has a yud on its back, sort of. So the kids say, isn't this the same as a ne'eman? What does it mean, tzadi, now trustworthy? It's like almost the same letter. It's like almost the same thing we had before, the ne'eman, by the letter nun. So what's the difference? So the teacher answers, Hosif lecha hakatuv. Hosif is to add, lecha is for you, hakatuv, that which is written. So added for you, the way that you write the tzadi, it added kfifa al kfifato, an extra level of bending, meaning the nun was already bent. The tzadi is the nun bent even more to make space for this yud on its back, or sort of this, so the teacher is saying, right, so the letter yud and the nun is a tzadi, as you can see here. So mikan shenitna Torah b'menod rosh. It's from here that the Torah was given with an extra level of humility, as Rashi writes here. Beretet ve'anava yetera. So meaning Moshe was the one that was the greatest prophet, and through Moshe was given the entire Torah, and Moshe was the most humble person on the face of earth. And so this is the letter tzadi, which is not only the nun, but the nun bent over even more in humility. And our sages say you should always go the middle road with all of the different kind of emotions and stuff, except two. With anger, you should do everything you can to avoid getting angry, because our sages teach, strong words about what the anger is. But obviously, anger is very damaging, even in just secular teachings. It's already, there's tests or whatever. But the point is, anger is extremely damaging. You should do everything you can to avoid it. And humility, you should be extra, extra humble. So not the middle road, but always be even more humble than you have to be, or whatever. Extra humility. That is the lesson of the tzaddik. It's, yes, you can be humble, but always try to strive to be even more humble. That Hashem is always above you. The Yud is like the first letter of Hashem's name. That I think I heard that. So basically, like, Hashem is always above us. And I liked what my friend said, my friend Avia Cohen Shlita. He said he liked, we were discussing the shape of the letter I. It just happened, I forgot what we were talking about, but basically the letter I, the lowercase letter I, is like when you humble yourself, you realize there's something above you, because the letter I, right, has a dot over it. So when you make yourself smaller, the capital I is big, but when you make yourself lowercase, when you make yourself smaller, then you realize there's always something above you. So it was just worked. So it was really cool. So anyway, after that, you get to the letters Kuf and Resh. Kuf and Resh. So this is where the kids say Kuf Kadosh. The letter Kuf, that depicts what is Kadosh, translated as holy. But as we already saw the definition, and we're about to go through it again. Resh is Rasha. Resh is translated as Rasha, which is like a wicked person. So Kuf Kadosh, the letter Kuf depicts the concept of what is Kadosh, which means separate. The Kuf is one of the two letters with two seemingly separate parts. That is being set apart, elevated code. Kodesh. Code is a specifically designated set of code. It's a specifically designated set of characters or lines or whatever it is. So Kuf Kadosh and Resh is Rasha. And the Resh is the wicked one. Okay, so, and in English, when it's translated as holy, the word holy comes from the word holid in Lashon HaKodesh. By the end of Megillat Ruth, the Keter Mitzrayim, there they list holid, holid et, holid et, holid, holid. They line up the word holid, and that's why it stood out so much that Baruch Hashem, I was able to see holid is the source of the word holy, because what makes you holy is or kadosh is when you participate in the creation of another human being. Holid means to give birth. Holid et Veyishai holid et David, and Yishai finally, from him came, obviously the man doesn't give birth, but meaning that from Yishai came David. He had a son named David. So holid is to give birth, and that's the source of the word holy. Because what is holy? What makes you like God or whatever is when you participate in the creation of a universe as God did. That's what makes you holy. Not the abstinence of creation of life, not the abstinence of ever getting married. And these poor, good men and women in other religions who all their religions oppress them, and these good men and women who are supposed to be, let's say, whatever, assuming like these are the, genuinely good people, their religion teaches they're never going to get married, and this is absolutely goes against the Torah. Hashem, what makes a person holy, again, from the word holid, to give birth, is when you participate in the act of creation of another universe, which is a person, which is a baby. So Kuf is Kadosh and Resh is Rasha. Mai ta'ama. What is the reason? Mahadar apeh de Kuf meresh. What is the reason that the face of the Kuf turns away from the Resh? So what does this even mean? Rashi writes, Lishna de Ma'aliyahu. It's actually a nicer way of saying. Really, it's the Rasha, it's the wicked person who turns his face away from Hashem, from God. So the letter Kuf also depicts, obviously nothing depicts God. God is infinite, but what the Kuf depicts is the Kuf is also made up of two letters, and this is in Otiyot Rabbi Akiva, based on the teachings there. But the letter Kaf and the letter Zayin. Zayin is 7, and we have 7 heavens in the world. And the Chaf is the throne above the 7 heavens, and then that points to infinity. That's where the infinite branches off. Anyway, Hashem is above the throne, above the 7 heavens. There's no whatever even that means. But basically, so really the Reish, the wicked person, is turning his face away from the letter Kuf, right? And Reish Lakish, in fact, all right, we'll see that in a second. The concept of 7 heavens, that has to do with Reish Lakish. Because Reish Lakish teaches that there are 7 heavens, and he goes and lists each one of the 7 heavens and explains what happens in each one of these. And the only way that we have this is not because, God forbid, to make up any sort of fairy tales and any sort of things. This is all the wisdom received at Sinai. That's exactly it. The whole Torah was given at Har Sinai, not just tablets that people think looks like thin little rocks that are rounded off at the top. Not at all. Has v'shalom. So much misinformation, and B'ezrat Hashem, we're trying to do what we can every day to inform and to remove all these false images and whatever that was been blasted into our brains since we were little. Okay, so the kids ask, what's the reason that sort of the face of the Kuf turns away from the Resh? So Rashi writes, we're speaking nicely. Really, it's the wicked person who has his face to the Kuf. He has his back. You see, I guess this is the face of the letter, and this is like the back of the letter. So he has the back of his head to the Kuf. The Rasha turns his back to Hashem. So, but to honor Hashem, to honor the king, you speak politely. You're saying as if the king is turning his face away. So he's saying, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is Hashem saying by this, by turning away? I can't look at evil. When you turn away from something in disgust, you're like, ugh, like that. I can't look at evil. That's what Hashem is saying by that. And that's a very important thing, that you could say things without words. Simply the act of you turning your face away from something says, oh my gosh, that's so disgusting, I don't want to look at that, or I can't look at that. And you're turning your face away. So you didn't have to say all those words. The simple act of you turning away said all those things. So basically that's the difference between Dibur and Amiraz. The Gra explains Dibur are the words, the speech, or the actions basically. The Amiraz understanding what's in the heart of the speaker. So Dibur is the facial expression, is turning away like that. The Amirah is what is that saying. And so that's saying, I can't look at evil. I can't look at that. That's what Hashem is saying. Hashem can't look at evil. The Yistakel is also, there's many different words for sight, right? One of the, like we said, the unique feature, there's no synonym. So what's the difference between lehistakel, lirot, lehabit, lehatzitz, litzpot, lechazot, all these different things for seeing. Leasher, that's another one that in Parshat Balak that was used, Ashurenu. So what is the difference between all of these things? But anyway, the word here is lehistakel, which is a deep contemplation, as Gaon Rav Zamir Cohen Shlita says. And so Hashem says, I can't like contemplate, like I can't look at evil. I can't contemplate evil because maybe it's like, why would you do evil when you can do the good? Why would you do evil and screw your own life up when you can do the good and make it better for yourself, so much better for yourself and everyone else? Maybe that's what that's saying. But who knows? B'ezrat Hashem. Then it says, the kids ask, Umay ta'aman, what is the reason? Mahadra taged de kuf legabe resh. What is the reason that the crown of the letter kuf is pointing to the resh? And this is one of the rules in writing the letter kuf, is that the crown on the kuf has to be slanting to the left, pointing towards the resh. So the kids notice this because the ALEF bet are written in front of them on the board or on the parchment, so that the kids are all seeing the letters up close, and they notice all of these nuances in the letters. And this is, again, what most kids never get to see, and of those kids who do get to see, how many ever get to hear what each of these letters depicts. So anyway, the kuf is pointing with the crown towards the resh, and the kids notice this and ask, what is the reason for that? And then they're saying, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what is Hashem saying by this? Im chozer bo, if he comes back, if this wicked person comes back with basically chozer bo, meaning in it, meaning whatever made you wicked, if you take that and figure out a way to use that for the good, use your skills and use your power for the good, if you come back and take what made you evil and use it for the good, ani kosher lo keter kemoti, I, Hashem, am going to tie him a crown just like me. Meaning Hashem can't look at evil, that's why Hashem turns away. But on the other hand, the crown is always pointing. The crown is said to be like the will, Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan Zatzal explains. Because the crown the crown that we imagine, the crown is placed on top of the head, meaning your thoughts and brains, your brains are inside your head, obviously, but the crown goes on top of the head, and this is like the influence, the thoughts, that's sort of like a cloud of thought, like a thought bubble, basically above your head, and basically the crown is above the head, and it's like the will. So the will of Hashem is that the person comes back, stops doing evil and starts to do good. Take what made you evil and start to do good. Because how do you kill evil is you flip it to good. You turn it to good. As in the story of, there were people in Rebbe Meir's town who were bothering him to such a point that he wanted to pray for them to die. And his wife either overheard his plans, he told her, or she heard that what he started to pray. And she told him, are you perhaps misreading the verse? The verse says, Yitamu chataim min ha'aretz, meaning like the sins should cease from the land. Are you misreading that verse and saying chotim, meaning the sinners should cease? Are you praying for the sinners to cease from the land, meaning that the sinners should all die? Rather, pray for the sins to cease. Pray for them to stop sinning, meaning that their evil actions should stop. Pray for them to stop doing bad things and start doing good things. And Rabbi Meir listened to his wife and he prayed for them to start doing good, to change. And Baruch Hashem, all of those people changed and started to do that. Also, Hashem is in control of a person's thoughts. We know that from the story in Egypt. Hashem can control a person's thoughts. Hashem can control any part of this world, basically. Hashem gives us the free will, but that could be overridden. And sometimes we want that, like, take the wheel. Sometimes it's an amazing thing, but we are ultimately free to choose. We have the free will to do all these things, as we're about to see even further. So that is the reason that the crown is pointing, because Hashem's saying, if you come back, I'm going to tie you a crown just like me. Then the kids ask, what is the reason that the leg of the kuf is sort of suspended in midair? And Rashi writes that it's not attached to the roof. It's not attached up here. So the kids answer, Di'i hadar, for if that person, hadar, chazar, if he comes back with whatever made him evil and does good, be'le'ayil, in it he should arrive. Like, meaning he has an entrance straight into holiness, if you will, straight into the Kedusha. The kids note, right, Rashi says, Uleil behach. So the kids say, why doesn't he just go all the way around here? So the teacher answers, Mesayele, this supports him. And who are we speaking about? L'reish Lakish. Now this is an amazing thing. It's so important to pay attention to the name of the sages that are being quoted when a certain teaching is being given over. We are now discussing the letters Kuf and Resh, and who is the sage thou that's being quoted? His name is Resh Lakish. Again, with the letters Resh and the letter Kuf, he has that in his name. But more importantly, who was Resh Lakish? Right? This whole thing is about Hashem saying that I can't look at evil, but if you come back, I'm going to tie you a crown just like me. Who was Resh Lakish? Resh Lakish was actually a robber. He was a thief. And the ways of thieves, they never stay in one place too long because the cops are always after them. So Resh Lakish was on the run one time. He was a bandit, right, on the roads, and he was running in the roads one time, and he then came across a river, and he jumped across the entire river. One of the things, he was supernaturally strong, Resh Lakish. So he jumped across and landed on the other side of the river. But as he was jumping in midair, he noticed a very beautiful person in the water. And as he landed on the other side, and then he turns around to him, and he's clearly, now he notices that he's a sage. He says, you should use your beauty to get girls. And the sage responds back to him, you should use your strength for the Torah. And that sage was Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, they say, was one of the most beautiful people to ever live. Rabbi Yochanan was the descendant of Yosef, and Yosef was one of the most beautiful people to ever live. Of Yosef, it says in the Midrash that Eshet Potiphar would invite her girlfriends over just so that they could glance at his beauty. And one time when he walked in the room and they were in the middle of cutting something, that they all were so stunned and shocked by his beauty that they cut themselves a little, the knife slipped, meaning he was that gorgeous, that drop dead gorgeous. They stopped what they were doing and they didn't even realize that they just cut themselves. So that is the beauty of Yosef. And so Rabbi Yochanan was a descendant and he was extremely beautiful. So Resh Lakish, right, were said like that, and Rabbi Yochanan responds back. He says, you should use your amazing power to learn the Torah. And he says, Rabbi Yochanan then continues, he says, come with me. I have a sister who's even more beautiful than me. As Rabbi Zamir Kornstein explains, he says, I have a sister who's much more beautiful than I am. If you learn with me the Torah, then I will put in a good word for you and you'll get married. And indeed, Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish started to learn Torah. And Resh Lakish got married to his sister. And Baruch Hashem started a family. And they became one of the most amazing duos, again, because the sages always learn with a partner, so they became one of the most amazing partners, pairs of sages learning together. It says that anything that Rabbi Yochanan would say, Resh Lakish would have 40 questions on everything he just said. And then after Rabbi Yochanan would answer these 40 questions, Resh Lakish had 40 questions on every single thing else that he just said. So like this, they would learn mass amounts of Torah, and to the point, one day where Resh Lakish passed away, and then Rabbi Yochanan they tried to bring him another person to learn with. And they sat this person down in front of Rabbi Yochanan and they started to learn. And that person was just agreeing with everything he said. And then Rabbi Yochanan says, I can't do this. This isn't learning. Resh Lakish forced me to have to go over everything I ever knew to come up with all of these answers. And we learned so much more Torah. And here you are, you're just agreeing with me. This isn't learning. It seems the sages specifically would pick someone that they disagree with. Specifically, they pick someone who sees things the exact opposite as they were. Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai. They're always together. They're written together. They learned together. They loved each other. Their families got married into each other. They respected each other tremendously and learned together all the time. But they disagreed on almost every single thing. But that's the beauty, and it's flip sides. It's the flip sides of things. Seeing things from two different perspectives, and they're both right. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chaim. They're both right, it's just two different perspectives. Okay, so anyway, this is Resh Lakish. So again, how important it is to pay attention to the name of the sages that are being quoted when a certain teaching is being given over. So here, Resh Lakish, by the letters Resh and Kuf. So the kids are saying, so why doesn't he go all the way around? Why does he get to just quickly go through here? So the teacher says, because this supports the words of Resh Lakish, the Amar Resh Lakish, for Resh Lakish said, my dichtiv, what is this? That is, my is what is, dichtiv, de is that, ktiv, which is written. Ktiv is written, and I highlighted the kaf and bet because things that are written are always written with the kaf bet, the 22 letters of the ALEF bet. Using the number chart, kaf is 2, 20, bet is 2, and together 22. So whenever you say my dichtiv, what is that which is written? It's always referring to the written Torah that's written with the 22 letters of the alphabet in their true gorgeous forms, exactly as they appear on an authentic scroll, as you can see here. So Reish Lakish is asking a question, and answering. My dichtiv, what is that, this verse which is written? Im laletzim hu yalitz, v'la'anavim yiten chen. If you're coming to letzim, is like from the word clown, and the Targum is lemimikne. Mimikne is the source of the word to mimic in English. That's the shin is the symbol for the source of a word. So a mimicker, a clown, is like imitates you and makes you laugh and whatever. Like letzim are clowns and fools. Im la letzim hu yalitz. If you want to go and fool around, he himself is going to go and fool around. Ula anavim, but to those who are humble, yiten chen, they will be given chen. What is the meaning of this verse that Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, is writing in Sefer Mishlei? So he says, balitma potrino. If a person comes to defile himself, potrino. If a person wants to go and fool around and do stupid things in this world, potrino, the door is open. Hashem says you are free to do whatever you want in this world, assuming you're born in a healthy body, and you can go and do whatever you want. It doesn't matter that there are rules. Rules can be broken. You don't have to listen to rules. I mean, we obviously hope everyone listens to rules, but the point is that's how free a person is. A person can literally free to break the rules, free to do whatever you want. So if a person wants to go and do sort of wicked things or to fool around, potrin lo, the door is open for him. And he himself is going to go and do those things. But if you're coming to purify yourself, balitar, if you're coming to illuminate your life and to purify yourself and to change your life, mesayim oto, you are being helped from Hashem. That's the meaning of the verse. Yitenchen, they will be given extra help in addition to their own efforts. So in the first part, if you're going to go and fool around, he will go and fool around. Meaning that person himself on his own efforts, he can go and do whatever he can with his own powers that Hashem gave him initially. And he can go and do whatever he wants. But to the anavim, to those who are humble and seek Hashem's help and pray to Hashem, balitar, whoever comes to illuminate and purify themselves and change their life, yitenchen, Hashem is going to give them extra divine assistance. So basically, when you want to change your life, just keep your eyes and ears open for Hashem sending you extra signs and extra help your way. Whether it's different people, a phone call, someone says something, there's an event happening, or whatever it is, just pay attention because Hashem is going to send extra help your way to help you. That is a guarantee. So that is the meaning here, and that's the meaning of why the leg of the kuf is suspended, meaning, and that the reish doesn't have to go all the way around. He can enter immediately. When he changes, he can just come straight back. There's no delay. You don't have to go all the way around this hard journey. Just flip and enter the good. That is the lesson here. That's the meaning of the verse. And that is Reish Lakish teaches us, and that's the letters kuf and reish. And so now, getting to the letters shin and tav. Shin is sheker, tav is emet. Shin is sheker, falsehood, and tav is emet, truth. This is essentially where we started, basically, the aleph bet. Aleph, bina, the whole purpose of us learning together the Torah that begins with the letter bet is to ultimately tell the difference between what is a sheker, what is a lie, and tav, what is truth, what is real. Okay? So now the kids ask, my ta'ama, what is again the taste or like flavor? What is the reason? It's the closest translation in English, so we'll use it for now. But Agaon Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal says that there is, in fact, a difference between a ta'am and a siba. So it's not the reason, it's a ta'am. It gives like a taste into the idea, I guess. It's the closest way I could say it right now. If you could say it better, please let me know. So Shina Sheker Tav Zemet. The kids say, "What my ta'ama Sheker mekarvan mile?" What is the reason that the letters of Sheker are so close together, and Emet merachaka mile, and Emet is so far apart? So basically, as we said, when the kids are learning the aleph bet, the teacher is showing them the letters in their true forms in Ketav Ashurit, exactly as they appear on an authentic Torah scroll, in their true gorgeous forms. The kids are seeing these letters in their true forms, and they're seeing all of the letters written out on the board or on the parchment or on the paper, now on the computer, whatever it is, they're seeing the letters in their true forms. And basically, when the teacher said shin is sheker, it's as if the letters of sheker, which is spelled shin, kuf, and reish, sheker is all bunched up together here at the very end of the whole alphabet. As going through the whole alphabet, sheker is just bunched up together. And then they decide to look at the word of emet, and emet is actually equidistant. If you include the final forms, it would be 13 letters here, 13 letters on this side. So mem, middle, that's definitely the source of the word middle. Mem is the middle letter in the alphabet. So aleph is the first letter, mem is the middle, tav is the last letter in the alphabet. And so the kids notice this and say, right, so what's the reason that sheker is so close together and emet is now equidistant, so it's so far apart? And they answer, shikra, shkiach, sheker, lies, is found, it's easily found, or shkiach, it's very common, very found. Kushta, lo shkiach, but truth is hard to find, or truth is not found, but acquired or learned. Meaning that you look in this world, you'll see sheker all over the place, you'll see so many lies, you'll hear lies all over, but truth is hard to find, or it's not found. And it's interesting that sheker in Aramaic is shikra, meaning you could already make out the letters. It's the same letters. It's shikra. It's like it's very easily found. But kushta, truth, is another word in Aramaic. So kushta lo shkiach, but truth is not found. Then they say umay ta'aman. What is the reason shikra, that again the sheker, the falsehood, achada kar'e ka'e, achada, on one, chada, the letters of echad, achada, on one, kar'e is again like the leg, ka'e, that sheker stands on one leg. So either examining the word sheker as a whole, so it'd be like a downward facing triangle, like flat at the top, and then it narrows down to cover the leg of the kuf, and you have a downward facing triangle. Or emet, ve'emet malven levoneh, and emet stands like beautifully laid bricks, like, and we had to build levinim for paro. Emet has a solid base, right, and it's like an upward facing triangle, basically. So the kids answer kush takai, because the truth stands. The truth stands, shikra lokai, but the falsehood does not stand. It will fall apart in the end. It stands on one leg, meaning it's balancing, tipping, it's about to tip over. It's on one leg, you can only do that for a short amount of time. So anyway, the kids say, so either examining the word as a whole, that sheker, the shin ends on a point, the kuf ends on a point, the resh ends on a point, but the letters of emet, truth, if you were to stand it up, the truth would stand. This has a flat base, this is two legs, this also is two legs. The truth would stand, the falsehood, the sheker, does not stand. That is the lesson on the aleph bet. And I think I'm going to stop here. There is a whole other section on Atbash, but this was a test run. It was a little bit rough with technical difficulties and sort of pauses in between and not teaching certain thing. But B'ezrat Hashem, this again, we got covered the main part of it. And, I definitely appreciate all the feedback. If there's anyone who did see this broadcast, and if anyone sees it after, let me know. And again, don't be worried if it's too long. I should have said this at the start of the video, but it's good. You have to I have to do this as practice to know what to do in the future. But all the time markers of B'ezrat Hashem will then be updated down in the links below, and you'll be able to see it all there and jump to any letter that you want, B'ezrat Hashem. So these are the letters, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that it was still bearable, and yeah, cold.